At one point in your career, did you feel like you were taking the greatest overall doses? And if you could go back in time, if you remember, like around what were they and what do you feel like you would change now, knowing what you know now?
In 2009, when I did the New York Pro, under the advice of, the person I was working with at the time, some of the recommendations were good. So like one of the things he had asked was, have you ever used testosterone suspension? And at that point, the answer was no, never. They said, okay, I want to bring that in and we're going to do 100 milligrams of that 5 times a week before every workout. Now that was in addition to kind of like a base of test NFA, which was 500 a week. And I was unfamiliar with it. But I'm going to tell you right now, that worked awesome. I loved it. And I didn't feel anything negative from it. One of the recommendations he had made was the use of Anadrol. And it wasn't, hey, let's bring in 1 a day. I want you to do 3 Anadrol a day.
Oh,
Yeah, so I started with 1. I didn't start with 3. I'm like, dude, 3 sounds kind of crazy. I'm willing to start with 1. I got through a week and a half, couldn't tolerate it. I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. I can't even eat. I've got terrible heartburn. So that was out. So in addition to the 100 milligrams of suspension 5 times a week, also wanted me to use 100 milligrams of test prop 5 times a week. So between the enanthate, the test prop, and the suspension, you're talking 1,500 milligrams of testosterone a week. Do I think it was necessary? No, I think you could have easily gotten rid of the testosterone propionate. If you're going to have a backdrop of test NFA to kind of keep, your test level elevated and steady, but you're still going to add these hits of test suspension, sure, that makes sense. Only thing he had me do that I regretted, and I don't even know if you're familiar. You know what Cytidrin is?
I have heard of it. I think I think from a lot of podcasts with Steve, honestly.
So aminoglutathione is something they used to use, I think, for Cushing's syndrome. It's some type of hormonal imbalance. But basically what it does is it drives your estrogen way down. Bodybuilders would use it because they would just get really dry and hard from using it. But a sane person would use it, I don't know, the last 4 days to a week prior, to a show. And I was totally unfamiliar with Cytidrin, never used it before. And he had me start it 6 weeks prior to the show, which anyone who's ever used Cytidrin will tell you it makes you really tired. Like you could fall asleep standing up. And that made the whole process a whole lot more challenging and in hindsight, totally unnecessary. I don't think there was anything gained from using it for that duration of time that it couldn't have just been used for the last week or 2 weeks if you wanted to really be crazy. I think that was kind of nonsensical. But then again, the outcome was good. It worked. So it's hard to complain too much. But it's it. And I never really did anything too crazy that I regret or whatever.